Eric, the history of arms races is that countries often misperceive their adversaries' strengths and overstate them. Sometimes it's the opposite, but many cases of overstating. I want to ask you honestly, as you look at Chinese and Russian capabilities in this AI space, do you think that we should worry that we're behind, or do we seem to be uh, keeping up in an adequate way?
So we looked at this question very carefully. We concluded that the Russian teams are quite good, but relatively subscale. There was just not enough of them to. This is a scale business in terms of people and deployment. But we were quite alarmed by the buildup on the Chinese side of core technology, money, and programs. And this is not just a military thing. We concluded that we were somewhat ahead, and I will say that I think somewhat ahead is sort of a year kind of number, not a 10-year kind of number. But that at the moment, China has prioritized this very high. They're producing more papers, more PhDs. The most recent analysis indicates that the papers that they're producing are of a similar quality to the very good papers from the West. And so I think a fair reading of this is they're very close to us, and their goal is to beat us or catch up and exceed what we're currently doing. In our report, we offer a long list of ways to address this with very strong recommendations, including increasing funding, a national research network, working with our partners in the West, as Michelle mentioned, working on consistent with our own values, et cetera. One of the things that's paradoxical here is that you want to think of a military response, but in fact, most of the work is being done in the private sector. And that's true in the commercial and the military spaces. So we call for very, very tight links, such as Michelle mentioned, between the military and small companies that can bring this technology to them. Overall, what I would say is we have time to redouble our investment in this overall space. We made an estimate that this correlated with $50 trillion of expansion of businesses and stock market wealth if we win this battle, when winning is defined as staying ahead. We also said that we need to stay at least 2 generations of semiconductor cycles ahead of China, which we are today, but they're investing heavily in that space. That's an argument for the government to help the semiconductor industry with more funds to build domestic plants, et cetera. So we've made all those recommendations. At the moment, we're in a few-year period where the outcome to your question will be determined. Once the gap is really opened, it will be very hard for us to catch up unless we resolve it now. I view this as a national emergency.